Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're going to be playing more of the Irresistible Attraction seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever we or our opponents play a non-spying unit, it will move a random enemy unit of the same power to the opposite side. To be clear, that means that you will be swiping one of your opponent's cards if you play a card with the same value, which means things are going to get pretty crazy. Let's take a look at the deck. So today we're going to be playing as Nilfgaard and using the double cross leader ability, allowing us to play a card from our opponent's hand. And the focus of this deck is going to be to play copies of our opponent's cards in order to more easily swipe those cards back onto our side of the playing field. So I'll flip through all the cards in the deck, but the link and deck list are in the description, so take a look at that if you want more information on that. I'm just going to stop every now and again to talk about some of the cards that are particularly notable, like Ivar Evil-Eye here, because he can switch power with an opposing unit, which means that as long as our opponents have two units with the same value, we can deliberately set up Ivar Evil-Eye such that he will always have that value, making him more or less a guaranteed way to steal one of our opponent's cards. Dudu is also notable because he can transform into a base copy of an opposing unit, so if we really like an opposing unit, we can create another version of it, and as long as that unit hasn't already been boosted or damaged, then we should be able to swipe that unit in the process as well. Rico is another interesting unit because he will change his strength to the base strength of whatever unit our opponent has played most recently, so that means we can wait around for our opponent to play a strong card, play Rico then, and he will likely swipe that card, unless that card has already been boosted or damaged. Experimental Remedy is another way of creating copies of our opponent's cards so that we can more easily swipe them. And likewise with Imperial Diplomacy, although this could give us any of a number of cards from our opponent's faction, may not necessarily be the ones that they are currently using, but still should have plenty of options for us to hopefully give us the chance to swipe a card in the process. And then Impera Brigade and Hunting Pack, we will use to flood the playing field with some 4-strength cards and make it a little bit more difficult for our opponents to choose which precise card they want to take on our end, because there will be multiple cards with the same strength value. Duchess's Informant is also notable because we can create a base copy of one of our opponent's bronze units, which means that if we like the card, we can create our own version of it, and as long as that card hasn't already been boosted or damaged on our opposing side, then we can probably steal that card as well. So there's a look at the deck. The idea is that we're going to try to swipe as many of our opponent's cards as we can. Then again, they might turn around and find a way to do the same thing to us, so we'll just have to see. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so we'll be against a fellow Nilfgaardian opponent, and we will go first. Let's see here. We have just one hunting pack, it appears, which is good. We don't ever want to have more than one in our hand at a time. Same with Impera Brigade. So that's fine. Then, I mean, we probably want to get rid of some of these Nauzicaa Sergeants. They're probably one of our weaker cards, and, well, don't want hunting pack back, so Dandelion, sure. Yeah, that's definitely fine. And then might keep one of these in the interest of getting rid of Experimental Remedy, or at least one of them, because it is great, but our opponent may not have many, if any, cards in their graveyard in round 1, so yeah, I think to get Joachim de Wett is certainly fine. Might even... I like playing him a little bit early. The problem with it is, while we have Ivar Evil-Eye, there is the non-zero chance of playing Joachim de Wett, boosting Ivar Evil-Eye by 8, giving him up to a 12, and then his deployability will have him switch his 12 strength with what would be the 4 strength on Joachim de Wett, so we're giving him a 12 strength unit and getting a 4 strength unit of our own, and that is not something that feels so great. So why don't we actually go Nauzicaa Sergeant first, and it is good if we can keep it. The problem is with 4 strength, it is very easy for our opponent to steal it. And so for that reason, I think what we'll actually do here is we will deliberately use our tactic early, because it's going to be a lot harder for them to play a 9-strength card than it is a 4-strength card. So we're trying to hold on to this guy long term, get the deployability, or the boost 1 whenever we play a unit with deploy to trigger as many times as possible. Okay, they go with Joachim de Wett. See if they run into the exact thing that I was just saying might happen. They did not. Even if they had, they could have at least swapped a 12-strength unit for a 9-strength unit, which is not nearly as bad as a 4-strength unit, which would have been what could have happened to us. So yeah, now you have a 12-strength Torturer. You have made our Nauzicaa Sergeant a spying unit, which is right. Coup de Grace on it, but not super concerned about that happening. It's not a huge deal. So I think what we do now is possibly throw down our hunting pack, because you now have a status. That means we get a bunch more units out here. So we're going to try to the extent that we can, flood the playing field a little bit so that if they want to try to steal a unit, we're going to have so many 4-strength units out there that it's going to be very hard for them to target a specific one. Okay, they're going with a 3-strength assimilate unit, so it's not going to steal anything. And I don't really think... I mean, we probably could at least potentially steal with Imperial Diplomacy, but do we want to? Probably not. So I think we just continue to flood here. Okay, Impera Enforcers are really good because they get 1 charge that they can use to deal damage whenever an opponent gains spying, and there's going to be a lot of spying. The thing is, it's a 4-strength unit, so it is very easy to steal. And I think we might try to do that right now, because we basically set ourselves up for this very situation. We'll steal you, you have 4 strength, and then we're going to have a bunch of 4-strength units, so even if our opponent wants to try to steal it back, it's going to be a pretty low probability chance of that happening. So I think we probably go with Dandelion Poet here to make that happen, because he's 4 strength. Now, you do have one of the 4-strength units, so there's still a chance that that might not work out for us. And for that reason, maybe we follow up with something like Imperial Diplomacy just to try to get another 4-strength unit. Joachim de Wett is 4-strength, but I don't believe he triggers because he's a spying unit. Let's go Imperial Diplomacy. And we got Hunting Pack, which is not what we wanted. We want you. Your deployability is not going to actually trigger, but mostly just trying to get a 4-strength unit out there to get Imperial Enforcers. Now they'll Coup de Grace, and they could do it on Imperial Enforcers here. Wonder if they will. Yeah, they're going to go on... Okay, Joachim de Wett. Makes sense. It's the usual play. And this is actually a little bit scary. Yeah, because you were very close to being able to steal this here. Not quite. But it was 1 off. Okay, so I think what we do now is we might turn around and play our Joachim de Wett, because if we get a 4-strength unit boosted up to 12, then we can steal one of you. Problem is still, if we get Ivar Evil-Eye, then he will actually get boosted up to 12. Yeah, actually, he's our only 4-strength unit out here. Yeah, I take it back. Or no, we have Nauzicaa Sergeant. That would be the ideal one. But this is not good if we get Ivar Evil-Eye. So I think we might actually want to... Oneiromancy into Ivar Evil-Eye at some point. The question is that necessary at this stage? Or do we feel like we have enough of a lead here that we're not terribly concerned about it? Because that's kind of how I'm feeling. Don't have anything in your graveyard that we can use for experimental remedy, though, so I think we may need to. We'll play you, and then change to this. Ideally, it would have been best if they had 2 cards with exactly the same strength. One was 13, one was 12. If we change to... Say they were both 12. We change the one that has 12, then we could have also swiped to this one. Now, as you can see here, it's overkill. We've certainly won round 1 here. That was part of my concern there, was it seemed like we had a lot of good plays to make, but we already had a big enough lead that we might have overinvested a bit in round 1. Okay, so we are down a card here, so we will probably still insta-pass or potentially just use a throwaway card here. Might even end up being the Nilfgaardian Knight, but we can still try to at least optimize for round 3. Let's just take a look at what we have remaining in our deck here that we might want to pick up, like maybe Yrden. Rico could be helpful as well. Steal just about any card. I'm thinking those are probably the 2 that we want most, and then we did make Nauzicaa Sergeant work in round 1, but I think generally speaking that's going to be a little bit tough, and to get Yrden, quite alright with me. So I think we probably leave it at that. Everything else here I think we can live with. And one exception being, I mean, Nilfgaardian Knight, it has 7 strength, which is good. It does boost an opposing unit by 2, which is useful for setting up our opponent so that we can actually boost it up to a 7 and then swipe one of their cards. But I think on this occasion when there's no one out there to hit with that target, that's fine. This will just be a 7-strength body. So that is one of the strengths of the Nilfgaardian Knight relative to other 5 provision cost cards. There are many 5 provision cost units that are good from Nilfgaard, Ooh, okay. That being one of them. But I like the Nilfgaardian Knight because it is one of the few cards that is good to play early on. Because one of the other options is, for example, the aristocrats. I forget what it's like, seditious aristocrats or something like that. And they have a big deployability where they gain strength based on how many spine units are on the other side. But if you play them early, then there are no spine units. You don't get a big boost. So that's at least the Nilfgaardian Knight strength is you can play them early. We're going to pass you, though. Got rid of probably still our weakest card. And so, yeah, fine, giving them the win here, and then we'll draw back up to 10. So will they. And they will go first. We'll have last say in round 3, so that's also nice to have. And we drew into Nico, which is one of the other cards that I was saying we probably did want to pick up, so that's nice. Then, I mean, what does that mean? We're going with Oneiromancy. Possibly Cantarella, or maybe the Duchess's Informant. Probably the way that would go. And do we want 2 experimental remedies? I mean, you should have a fair number of bronze cards in your graveyard at this point. You have at least a couple that are tempting. Nauzicaa Sergeant, if we can hold on to it, could be good. But it could also fairly easily get stolen. I suppose we can probably live with this. Potentially could have tried swapping out one of you guys. Okay, Artorias Vigo is interesting in that he does allow you to play a couple of cards, which is nice, because that does make it so that we can only, most of the time, steal 1 card per turn. So we would kind of have to choose between these two, although they are within stealing range, or at least Vigo is right now. Nauzicaa Sergeant at 1. I mean, technically speaking, I suppose it might actually be more stealable than 3 strength unit right now, because we don't really have many. Although, we do have the Ard Fiend Heavy Cavalry, which is 3 strength in your graveyard, which is not really what I was thinking we would use the experimental remedy on, but you do have some long-term value if we can hold on to you. So, something to be said for that. Try you? I don't really want to do that at this stage. We got rid of Ivar Evil-Eye, right? So we could theoretically go Joachim de Wett, but I think, sure, we'll go for it here. We'll go Heavy Cavalry, get Vigo. I don't love it, because I think we might have still been better off going with a higher base strength card. But, see what they go for. Well, they're going to steal someone back here. That's the other thing. Is 3 strength is pretty straightforward to steal back. They'll get one of the 2 assimilate units that we had. But we could, of course, do exactly what they just did, which is tempting, except for the whole part where, when it comes to choosing a card to pass back and forth and make a bunch of copies of, I'd rather it not be the Heavy Cavalry. I'd probably prefer the Nauzicaa Sergeant. So I'm not really sure I want to start making a bunch of copies of you with our Duchess's Informant at the moment. So maybe we go with Joachim de Wett now, and then that'll set up a Coup de Grace next turn. If not, later on if we feel like there are other better targets. But let's give this a shot now. And we will get a Nauzicaa Sergeant, which is good to get early on, because it will get boosted every time we play a card with the deployability, and we do have a lot of those. And when this is boosted from a 4 all the way up to a 12, it's going to be pretty hard for them to play a 12 strength card to swipe this, but we'll see if they have any answers. Okay, they're going to create a copy of something. In fact, this is the only card they can create a copy of, but it's going to be 4 base strength, not 12. So not going to steal anything here. It's a bit of a missed opportunity, and now suddenly I am more inclined to start to do things like our own Duchess's Informant, because if we were to create a copy of you, then we could swipe this copy as well, or potentially really any of these. Well, don't want to swipe Joachim de Wett. There's a, what, 25% chance of that happening? Because I probably do still want to target you with Coup de Grace, but if we wait until after we've done Coup de Grace, then all these guys could turn into 5s, and then suddenly this doesn't work. Go with Duchess's Informant, so I think we do this now, and we just take that risk that there's a 25% chance that the card that we steal is going to be the one that we don't actually want to steal. So, fingers crossed it's not Joachim de Wett. It's not, okay? So we We lucked out there. I mean, 75% chance of it working in our favor, so I suppose not that lucky, but either way, we didn't get unlucky. Brothen's is strong, definitely. Another card that allows you to play multiple cards per turn, and therefore steal multiple cards per turn, so great in this seasonal event. And you will do something very similar to what we did. Swipe in some of these Nauzicaa Sergeants, and well, I mean, we could get some back, yes. However, do we have any other more intriguing alternatives here? Experimental Remedy, do we have any new options that are particularly intriguing now? Once something gets up to 7 strength, we could probably go with you. I'm eyeing Brothen's, or even this Nauzicaa Sergeant for that. I think we wait. We could even Rico now to swipe one of these 4 strength units. I mean, I like holding on to Rico in case they have some big card that they play later on that we could steal for a ton of strength. But because these guys do still have some value long term, would still be worthwhile, or we just Coup de Grace at the moment. Maybe we wait on Coup de Grace a little bit longer. It's not really urgent. Unless we, end up swiping Joachim de Wett here, which is exactly what's going to happen. Alright, I did jinx myself on that occasion. That time I called it. So, can't even be mad about that. Set myself up for it. So, of course, had we known that, we would have wanted to have done Coup de Grace. But there was, what, a 33% chance of that happening? And, well, you swiped it back. So, I mean, sure. Thanks. How about now we stop getting clever and go for it? I mean, part of the reason why I was thinking we maybe do try to wait for it is if they do happen to get a really strong unit, then that means that if we were to get Coup de Grace to trigger on Joachim de Wett, we play Joachim de Wett, get the 8 boost from a card in our deck, we get a huge card out here. Well, I'll tell you what, we only have spies remaining. We actually don't want to hit Joachim de Wett. Come to think of it, we would rather hit you. That is probably our preferred play here, because otherwise we are boosting a spy that we're going to end up playing on the opposing side, and that doesn't really do us any good. So let's do this. Then, do we go for damage or self-boosting? I think we prefer self-boosting, because 4 strength is always going to be stealable. As you see there, we get Joachim de Wett back. Whereas, so that means that if we do get the deployability to trigger, or at least the boosting from the deployability to trigger on the Nauzicaa Sergeant, then it's going to be harder for our opponents to steal it, whereas this guy's always going to stick around at 4. Okay. 4 6 strengthers. I really want you to play some 7 strength cards. Okay, now we can get some of them, but at this point, it's going to be hard to make much of a comeback from these many 7 strength cards, or at least we can steal one of them, but there's going to be many more where that came from. So this is getting a little bit daunting, but I think now what we do is we Experimental Remedy, and we play you, and we'll get one of these 7 strength cards, and that's not a bad one to pick up, I suppose. We do get Last Say, so that is encouraging. We do have a Yrden, which can do a lot of resetting here. So you're going to use your Coup de Grace on same unit we used ours on. And it looked like you were trying to create a Nauzicaa Sergeant of your own, which this is the card that's getting a bazillion copies, which is understandable. But I'm just trying to bear in mind which row are we going to reset, and I think the answer is almost certainly going to be the range row. So now this is a situation where I think doing something like the Viper Witcher Mentor, which is one of our biggest point slams, could be interesting, because we don't know exactly what the highest provision cost card they have remaining in their deck is, but they have a wide enough variety of stuffs here for us to choose from that there's a pretty reasonable chance that we'll end up stealing one of those. Otherwise, let's just look at Oneiromancy. What does that give us here? Probably Duchess's Informant, maybe Cantarella. Let's go for this. Ah, it's one off. Like I said, there's no way of knowing exactly how much it was going to be. But of course, that means that if we had waited one more turn, these guys likely would have gotten boosted up to 10, and we could have swiped them. So, missed opportunity. And now they're potentially going to boost it? No, they're... Okay. Boosting someone and stealing this back with their 7 strength Nilfgaardian Knight. So, we could do something similar with Dudu by transforming into you and swiping either you or you back. Or maybe even one of the Nauzicaa Sergeants, which actually would potentially have better long-term value. Is there anything else that we'd rather transform into? I don't think so, because it's going to be a base copy, so we're not going to be a 9-strength version of Rothins or anything like that. Need to remember that much, and I think, yeah, for that reason, why don't we do this? And we will get Guardfee and Tortoise back. And I'm not sure how these numbers are going to end up lining up here, because they do still have a pretty large lead, yes. However, they don't steal anything there. They do have some damage. But with our Oneiromancy, we can either Cantarella, and that's a bit of a wild card. We have no idea what we're going to get out of their deck. We know they have at least a 10 strength provision, or 10 provision cost card, which suggests that there's some good unit out there. But, 9 cards in their deck. I mean, the 1 in 9 chance we get that theoretically decent card. Otherwise, more consistent answer would be Duchess's Informant, which, tell you what, is still tempting. So if we do it on you, we get a 7-strength card back. I think we might go that route and then leave Geralt Yrden for last. I think that might be the play here. Let's go for this. Then you're... Oh, I thought you ran out of space for a second there. You're making me nervous. I was about to say, did we just waste our opportunity? We do need to boost something. Is unfortunate. But if we boost something that is in the range row, remember we are likely to use Geralt Yrden in that row, so that boost is ultimately going to get negated. And at this point, yeah, you're going to steal a card. Oh, I didn't realize that got all the way up to 20. That hurts a lot. That hurts a whole lot. Because I was about to say, with Geralt Yrden in the range row, we might have been getting close to being able to pass you with what is about to be our last turn here, but after you stole our biggest card, I don't think this is going to be enough. Oh man, except it is by 1 point. Oh boy. And that is the craziness that sometimes works in your favor. Alright, so we'll be going against Nilfgaard here, and they will go first. And let's see, we have just one of our Impera Brigades, so that's fine. But 2 experimental remedies in round 1 is probably not really what we want to do when they may not have many, if any, cards in their graveyard. So let's swap you guys out. Okay? And they'll lead off by spawning an additional bronze soldier from their hand, which is good because it allows them to load up on multiple units in one turn, so we probably can only steal one of them, and that was a smart idea to boost the Impera Enforcers, because these guys will get a lot of charges to deal a lot of damage, but with 4 base strength, normally it'd be very easy to steal them. But it does become a fair bit trickier if we find that they're up at 8. Now, if we wait long enough that our Adrenaline ability triggers on Ivar, then we could deal 4 damage to you. Oh, but you have the armor, so it's not going to be enough to break through, get you down to 4. So, okay, that's maybe a thought for a future occasion. As for right now, though, thinking either Nauzicaa Sergeant is usually a good first turn play, although it is also susceptible to being stolen, or Cantarella. And I think maybe we even go Cantarella here. Ooh, okay, and I like the Sagacious Aristocrats, because they will get boosted whenever an opposing unit gains spying. And that could happen a lot, but again, I mean, it starts off at 4 strength, got boosted up to 5 because there is 1 spy out there already. But this could get stolen, which we'd rather not have happen. We'd like to stick with you for as long as we can. You're going to continue to get higher. Okay, and more Imperial Enforcers. Now, you actually should have damaged us first before playing that, because you could have stolen us if you did. But you did not. So we hold on to it, thankfully. But let's see, you are not a soldier, and therefore Impera Brigade cannot do its thing. But, I mean, technically speaking, Nauzicaa Sergeant first would have been nice, because then we would have gotten a little bit more boost from more deploys. But, I was just thinking that it probably would get sold, and it would have. So, I think we probably still want to play you early, though, and you are a soldier, so if you do stick around, then that does make Imperial Brigade a nice play for next turn, so I think probably go with you now. And we'll take you. Like I said, these guys are going to exchange hands, I think, fairly often. And it does mean now that we have a couple of 4-strength units, they don't necessarily know which one they're going to take if they do make a 4-strength unit, which they are certainly about to do. Curious which one they opt for. They are going with the Enforcers. Who do they end up stealing? Okay, it's the Nauzicaa Sergeant, and they can deal a lot of damage with those Enforcers. So that does make matters a little bit tricky, getting anything down there without it getting demolished by your damage. So I'd like to steal this if we can. And honestly, after dealing a bunch of damage to this guy, I mean, if it doesn't get destroyed by your damage, it's hard to steal with just 1 strength. But you have enough damage that that's probably fairly likely. Now, we can go Impera Brigade here, which is very tempting. Otherwise, Imperial Diplomacy, I think, is probably the play. Let's go with this while we still have a soldier to make it happen with. We'll go this route. We will steal one of your Impera Brigades. Ooh, but you did gain a shot. Oh, yeah, right. When we steal it, you gain spying. So, yep, that's when you're going to get the charges. So, hey, you're probably going down next turn. So I think we definitely do need to damage someone. Don't love getting rid of a 4-strength card, because those are usually the easiest to steal, but there's already one out there, so suppose we'll live with it. Now that's a 4-strength card that I very much like to steal. And sure, you'll take an Enforcer's back. The pattern continues. So, you go Rico, and he would be 4-strength and would have a 1/3 chance of stealing any of these 4-strength cards out here. Imperial Diplomacy, I think it's likely we're going to find a 4-strength option. Ivar could work. Although I feel like we probably don't want to use you for this purpose, and then Oneiromancy we could probably find a 4-strength option. Like ooh, I actually like going Oneiromancy, Dandelion, because this play gets us one of the 4-strength cards, and then this play will get us another 4-strength card. But we didn't get the one that I was looking for. Darn it. This is definitely the best of those 4-strength cards. Well, Imperial Enforcers are also similarly good. It's going to get its charges more easily than you are, but deals less damage in the process. Now you're going to steal something back here, but we have so many 4-strength cards that it is hard to know what it's going to be. And, well, that is probably the one that we wanted you to steal, so we'll take that, but you're going to get another one here. You're going to create even more Imperial Enforcers. Who are you going to get back there? You are going to get one of your Imperial Enforcers back, and you do ultimately end up destroying one of the ones that we had stolen from you. And you did destroy Dandelion, which is, it's unfortunate, because I actually wanted you to steal Dandelion, and then we could have used Coup de Grace on you. That's what I was kind of hoping would end up happening, but alas, it did not. Let's see. So now Rico is still looking at stealing a 4, which some of them are good. At least one of them is not so much. Might even be reason to hold off on doing Imperial Diplomacy. And is there anything else we'd like to target with Coup de Grace? I mean, we have Nauzicaa Sergeant, but that's not exactly a great target for it. So I think we may be going with Rico here and hoping for Hefty Helga. If we do get it, then we're definitely going to go Imperial Diplomacy next. Or maybe even Coup de Grace, depending on what ends up happening from there. Let's give it a shot. And it is not Hefty Helga. I suppose Imperial Enforcers is also okay, assuming we can hold on to you, which is a big if. Okay, and Seditious Aristocrats is very strong, because it does get boosted based on the number of spies. It's 7 strength here, which I don't think we'll have a way to make that happen. Well, there are a few bronze units that actually have 7 base strength, so it's not impossible that Imperial Diplomacy could get us there. That might be the route we take here. I think we give this a shot. And then, ooh. Okay, we didn't get one, although Spotter is a real wild card, because it'll get boosted by the power of a random unit in their deck, and, well, anything. But, we could Imperial Diplomacy into Imperial Diplomacy, which is kind of tempting. Amnesty, I think you have at least one card that has 3 or fewer strength. In which case, this is actually a pretty solid play. But I don't remember well enough to say definitively, so to be safe, you would have had just one card that we could have swiped, and it wouldn't have been that good, so we'll live with this. Okay, 4 strength is really what I was looking for here. Let's do this. Let's give someone spying, someone we want to create a copy of, namely probably Brothans. And then we ideally would have had time to, I almost be able to still sneak in some damage with Imperial Enforcers, because this could still get re-stolen. I wanted to put the spying on you, because now you are probably our best target for Coup de Grace. Interesting. Lowering a bunch of things to 3 strength. Does that mean you're about to play a bunch of 3 strength cards? Ah, set up Coup de Grace of your own. On Coup, though. Okay, fair enough. Then you create a base copy of... It's probably going to be another Imperial Enforcers. That seems to be the name of the game here. That it is. Okay. And... done with your damage. You do have more if you really want it. But now we get a bit of revenge here. We go with Coup de Grace on you. Create you here, and yes, you do have some 4 strength cards, so we should be able to swipe something. And then we create Duchess's Informant, and we use that to create... I mean, we could continue to feed this monster that is creating all these Imperial Enforcers. Why not? Why not? And now, with our bit of damage here, let's see. Ivar Evil-Eye will deal 4 damage when we play him, so if we could get somebody down to an 8, that'd be great. Not there yet with you, but we're kind of close. I mean, you are going to go up. Or actually, if we get rid of your armor, then Ivar Evil-Eye should be able to deal 4 damage to you and then either steal you or really steal any of these 4 strength. Yeah, I suppose. We always could have swiped one of these 4 strength units, so we really didn't need to target you. Always get caught up in thinking that, well, it needs to be the one that we're switching power with that we're actually going to end up stealing. But no, or at least in this case, the one we're going to deal damage to we need to end up stealing, but not really. Not really. Okay. Now, this guy's going to get boosted a lot. And Viper Witcher Mentor may actually be able to catch him. We might be able to steal this guy. Okay. You're creating even more Imperial Enforcers and swiping some of ours. And, destroying the other one. I mean, imagine if they hadn't destroyed the Imperial Enforcers that we had created. Then this would be actually a full-blown board full of almost 100%, or at least seemingly almost 100%, the Imperial Enforcers. But anyways, so that did also give a ton of boosts to seditious aristocrats. I think we do go with the Viper Witcher Mentor here, and we're hoping that it gets boosted to 10. It'll get boosted based on whatever the highest provision cost card in your deck is. I mean, it's possible there's a 13 in there, but it's unlikely. 8 and 7 is also unlikely. There's probably something higher than that at this stage, but not out of the question. So I think we give this a shot here. If we wait around, and this is only going to get higher up, and definitely be impossible to catch at that point. So let's play you... not sure it matters too much which row. It is 13. Oh, ho, ho, ho. All right, we're still in this. We're still in this. Now, Leo's going to destroy one of our big units, yes, which is unfortunate. And we did still get a pretty big play there, and we'll live with that. But, The other thing that we could have considered doing earlier might have been decoying out one of our better units and getting it back in our deck. I mean, we might even want to do that with Joachim de Wett. I would not rule that out. We don't know necessarily what we're going to get in return. Joachim is a good enough card that to get him back in our deck. This is actually the one that our opponent played, but we have one here somewhere. That's not a terrible option. So, obviously, it's either that or Ivar now. And Ivar, if we were to... I mean, we probably do still hit you. Drop you down to 4 as well and try to take one of these Imperial Enforcers back. Alternatively, I mean, hitting any of these guys is certainly possible, but... yeah, let's do this. We'll get an Imperial Enforcers. And we have the slightest of leads here. But Decoy is probably not going to be our strongest play. This is in many ways more so a setup for future round, although Coated Weapons is not great either, to tell you the truth. Okay, but you have enough damage from your Imperial Enforcers that it could still be enough. Although, I think what we do is we're going to decoy on... I could even go Impera Brigade because it only has 1 strength here, so... This is the weakest card out there right now. So we have the most to gain in this current round from swapping you out. But in future rounds, we would have the most to gain from getting Joachim de Wett in our deck. Or even you, I mean, to a certain extent. But then I think what we do here is we're going to go with Joachim, and then if we need to, I'm willing to go with our leader ability to guarantee a round 1 win. Okay, so we get you. And it shouldn't really matter who we turn into a spy here. We'll swipe someone, and that is enough. Oh, actually, you had no cards in your hand, so we weren't going to be able to use our leader ability, but that was enough anyway, so not to worry. Okay, and now we got the echoed copy of Coup de Grace and Oneiromancy, so those are both big. The hunting pack, that would probably mean that would end up being, well, I suppose it doesn't need to be our first turn play, because I was going to say, with no units out there on the opposing side, it's obviously not going to summon anything. So we could, however, use Oneiromancy to get into something else here, namely Joachim de Wett, I think would be pretty tempting. And then we'd have spying on Joachim de Wett. We could use that to trigger hunting pack, and we could also target Joachim de Wett with Coup de Grace. So I think we have some nice options here. Let's actually leave this as is. So we go Oneiromancy into you, play you, and oh, okay, well that's not exactly the idea. One we would have liked to have gotten, but we'll live with it. I mean, suppose there actually weren't very many non-spying units out there. So, I mean, there were still other ones. Could have been Dudu, for example. Okay, now, the thing is, that's not gonna... Oh, unless you have Devotion, that's not gonna trigger it. It's not. That's a weird way. Okay, sure. You lowered Geralt Yrden down to 1 strength, yes, but you didn't create a copy of him. It's a little odd. And I'm thinking we go with Gra here, because it's still a possibility, so we'll make it happen. Make another Joachim, and this time we hope for something a little bit better. And let's actually deliberately play you in the same row as Geralt, because, I mean, not that Yrden's really going to change much here, but in case he does get Yrden's, then you're also boosting Geralt Yrden. So now we could even go leader ability here and go all in on this round, which is quite tempting. I think we do. And yep, we're going to Coup de Grace on another Joachim de Wett. And this time we're going to get a hunting pack, which is not great because we have the other hunting pack in our hand. But, you know, we'll take it. Now, that one we definitely should have tried to play in the melee row. Because at this stage, if you do have a Geralt Yrden, that is going to be pretty painful. It would have been guaranteed victory if we had played you in the melee row. But if you have Yrden, it's going to hurt. Oh, well, then again, we saw what cards you had in your hand. And I don't think you did. You had Coup de Grace, which you can't... Oh. You have Coup de Grace, which on this occasion will take out Geralt Yrden, which means you will be able to play him, which means you will be able to reset this row. So yes, we did kind of just shoot ourselves in the foot. So I did kind of just rush that last card there because we were running out of time on our turn. But we should have done better. Now, it may still be enough because this is still a 7 base strength card. Now, we did throw enough Joachims out there on their side that they have some strength of their own. But I think we still throw down Hunting Pack. And we'll swipe a Joachim. That may be enough that even with this play that we totally just walked right into and should have known better. But like I said, I just rushed it. And did not even think about splitting those guys to different rows. Still not enough for them to catch us, so we'll still take it. Okay, so we will also be going against a Nilfgaardian opponent here, and they will go first. Okay, and as for what we have here, we have a couple of Nauzicaa Sergeants, which are probably our weakest cards in this deck because we play them with 4 strength, and it takes some time for them to get boosted up, but in the meantime, they might get stolen. So I probably would prefer to get rid of those. I like having 1 Impera Brigade and 1 Hunting Pack, so let's leave those, and we hope that we don't draw into any more of those because their strength is coming from summoning the other version from our deck. Fine with Nilfgaardian Knight. Decoy can be good if we find ourselves swiping a card and say we want to make sure that we pocket it back in our deck and not have our opponent take it right back from us. That's probably what we're going to use it for. Okay, so they're leading off with Oneiromancy. It'll be interesting to see what they choose to do with that. Cantarella, we also even have in our hand at the moment. Oh, Joachim de Wett. Okay, that was a pretty big pull on their part. Then the Operator will actually spawn and summon a base copy of a bronze unit on both their side and our side. Although, it's a card that needs to be in the melee row, and it ended up in both players' range rows, so that's a little strange. Let's see. So unfortunately, because this card got boosted when it got played, Rico cannot instantly steal this card. It'd be amazing if he could. But what other alternatives might we have here? Our opponent actually doesn't have a status at the moment, so we can't do Hunting Pack. I mean, we could turn around and do a Cantarella of our own and just see what we come up with. They got a pretty lucky one. Let's see what we get. Interesting. Okay. We will get to choose. Oh, man. Transform into a base copy. We actually don't get the deploy ability, I don't think, if we do Dudu. So I don't want to do this on Joachim de Wett. I want to do Coup de Grace. Oh, but he's on our side of the playing field. Of course he is. Oh, dear. Well, Cantarella again, I suppose. Sure. What do we end up with this time? Damage you. We're running out of time there, but man, that was very nearly an awesome play. Unfortunately, we were not able to hit Coup de Grace on Joachim de Wett. That was what I wanted to do because being able to play Joachim de Wett would have been fantastic. But of course, they stole our Joachim de Wett, played it on our side of the playing field because it's, oh man, because it's a disloyal unit, and now you're going to do exactly the thing that I wanted to do. I suppose we did actually end up hitting Cantarella, although I wanted to hit Joachim de Wett, and you deliberately opted for Cantarella instead, and you swiped our other Imperial Brigade, which is unfortunate because, well, that means the one we have in our hands can't summon one from our deck. However, we could steal the one that you have here, and we could potentially even swipe your Alba Pikeman instead, which probably would be better, especially if we can get it to end up in the melee row. But I believe that's random as to which row it changes over to. So that's tempting. Your Alba Pikeman is, in fact, in the melee row, which is unfortunate. I want to see if there are any alternatives here. I mean, we could pocket Joachim de Wett if we were to use Decoy. But I'm not really sure I want to do that at this stage just yet. If we don't have a use for Decoy later on, then that might in fact be what we opt to do. But let's go with Impera Brigade here and just take back one of these cards, and we're actually hoping for the Alba Pikeman. We didn't get it. Okay, we play Tactic card from your deck. What will it be? Oh, interesting. Okay. Creating a copy of a card and putting it at the top of our deck. I mean, it's an interesting one, Impera Brigade. I mean, if we hadn't actually played the one from our hand already, then we would have benefited from having another one in our deck. But not this time round. I mean, we could deliberately decoy this Impera Brigade and get them both back in our deck. There is something to be said for doing that, but I think, you know, optimizing Decoy is probably not top priority here. Rico is definitely not a great play when we're talking about swiping just a 2-strength card. Let's see. Hunting Pack is now possible, which may not be a bad idea here. I think we go that route. Because you do now have a status, and we will swipe an Alba Pikeman, and we'll go in the melee row. So I like that. And now you'll play your other Alba Pikeman. And swipe ours back. Okay. I mean, if we really wanted one, then we could, of course, use Duchess's Informant to create a copy and then swipe one. Or we could use Imperial Diplomacy, and there's a non-zero chance we'd get a 4-strength card out of that. I think we might want to... even Dandelion. The idea here being that he himself is a 4-strength card, so we swipe one of your 4-strength units from that, and then we play one more card from our hands, and that allows us to potentially swipe another unit. So that's why we have Dandelion in the deck, and I think we might even go for that here, because it is perhaps just as good. Ooh. Oh? Why don't we turn right around and swipe this? Did we not have the other Imperial? Okay, well, I lost track of the Impera Brigade here, because I thought you had put one in our deck, but apparently you didn't, or maybe that was the one better. I thought we had 2 in our deck. Apparently we didn't have 2 in our deck. So that was a mistake in that case. Probably would have preferred to have gone with Duchess's Informant and created a copy of something else, which is what you are doing here, and that is probably what we would have opted to have done. Go with the Alba Pikeman, and... I mean, we could certainly still do that here. Thinking we probably do, in fact. Let's go for it. Create you. Put you in the melee row. Swipe back. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Artorias Vigo for some Assimilate. I mean, we actually do have a way to trigger Assimilate at least a little bit. We could even use our leader ability, though I'd rather save that a little bit longer. And we have a slim lead here, but I think any lead is very tenuous because, of course, as we are about to see, our opponents can swipe a card back if they really want to. And we're going to see a lot of Alba Pikemen, it would appear. Okay. You have 4 of them. I thought we had a lot before. We had, what, 3 before you swiped that one? And we could Imperial Diplomacy and hope to get, I mean, ideally, maybe even Alba Pikeman to add to the list, or just any other 4-strength card. Rico could swipe a 4-strength card, which would be either one of these 2 Alba Pikemen or your Imperial Brigade. We'd like for it to be the Alba Pikemen, because these have ongoing value, whereas this does not. So I think we go with this, especially because we have an Assimilate unit out there right now. No, I don't really want any more Imperial Brigades. I think we've at this point established that we do not need any more. We don't have any empty rows right now, so you don't really help us out. So I think we do go with another Assimilate unit here. And does it really matter who we give the spying to? Not particularly sure it does. I mean, if we still had Coup de Grace, and Joachim de Wett is, of course, the person that I wanted to originally hit with it, so sure, throw it on him. And we do get an Alba Pikeman back. But it is not really where we wanted to go. I thought somewhere that it said that when you steal the card, it goes to the opposite row in which you played your card. Or it might just be the opposite row that they had their card in originally. That's worth confirming. So we did obviously just play that in the melee row, which did send this Alba Pikeman to the range row. That may not have been a coincidence. We might be about to see here. So if they go play that in the melee row, yeah, then sends a card to the range row. So I think that is, in fact, the case. I'm pretty sure that it specified that. So we can use Rico now. I mean, originally I was hoping we'd probably save him for when our opponent plays a higher strength unit so we can swipe a, 7-strength card in the process. But we're swiping a 4-strength card and one that has some ongoing value. Then that's probably still worthwhile if we can take an Alba Pikeman back. Now, of course, you're starting to build up your fair share of not as interesting 4-strength units, and we could end up getting one of those, which is not really something we want to have happen. But I think we probably give that a shot here. Yeah, let's go for it. And I will deliberately play you in the range row and see if we can get you to show up in the melee row. Yes, okay, so I think that is, in fact, what it's specified in the rule set for this. Now, this is interesting. Operator has now gone to 7 strength, which means that the Nilfgaardian Knight could swipe you. That was a little bit devious, because you have surpassed us. However, with our 3 Alba Pikemen, we should actually take the lead here when we pass. So I think we're all set to win on even here. That we are. So not necessarily the cleanest of round ones, but I think very rarely are you going to find all those clean rounds in this seasonal event. Okay, so we got round 2 of Coup de Grace. Dudu is also very good, I think. And then Experimental Remedy, now that our opponent does have cards in their discard pile, let's just double check what those are. Needs to be a bronze unit. I mean, plenty of Alba Pikemen. That's certainly an option. In fact, that is one of the few options here. Or Duchess, probably Duchess' Informant, to tell you the truth. Either way. We may not want Decoy. Or Nilfgaardian Knight. Those are probably still our weakest cards here. Imperial Diplomacy could be good, could be not so good, depending on what we end up getting as our options. Oneiromancy is big, but that does mean that we probably want to double-check what we'll actually play from it. And potentially Duchess' Informant, although that's not really what we want to do now. I think Ivar Evil-Eye is probably more so the answer, but either way, that does require that they have some cards out there. And that is one downside to going first, is there's obviously no cards for us to steal here, and anything that we do play could get stolen. I assume that our opponent has not just forfeited on us, although there's a non-zero chance that they have closed the game and decided enough is enough. I mean, we're on even here. We did win round 1, so it's not like we have this in the bag right now, but maybe they see it otherwise. Okay, so they disconnected. Couldn't really tell if that was a deliberate disconnection that they were doing in order to forfeit, or if that was legitimately just them losing connection, because we didn't exactly have a commanding lead there, but either way, I suppose we'll take it. So there's a look at a deck for the new Irresistible Attraction seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other decks and factions and cards you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.